So you've been training for a few months. You built up a solid foundation of offense, learned some defense. You've gotten comfortable with your footwork. You've gotten comfortable throwing your punches, throwing your kicks, and now you're thinking about sparring. I mean, isn't that what this is all about? You want to see all the things that you've been working on for the last few months, how it all works out. But sparring is going to be a little bit different. There's a lot of things that are different. You're not hitting stationary targets. Your target is moving, and more importantly, your target is actually hitting you back. So safety is going to be our number one priority, but we want to go into it with the right frame of mind. We want to go into it looking to have fun, and most importantly, we want to go into it trying to learn. So I put together a couple key things that we want to focus on when we start sparring. The first thing that we want to make sure that we are aware of, and quite honestly, it throws most people off guard at first, is the whole nerve factor. When you have punches and kicks flying in your direction, a lot of times that can be nerve-wracking. And initially, and it happens at every stage of the game, there's going to be somewhat of an adrenaline pump that happens. So we have to be prepared for that, and we have to make sure that we're expecting that. It's natural, it's human, you will get an adrenaline dump. But a lot of times what happens when people get that adrenaline dump is they feel like they are not in good a shape as they thought they were. Because when that adrenaline dump happens, you feel exhausted. Your arms feel like noodles. You are like, oh my God, I must be in terrible shape. But that's not the case. Your adrenaline is reacting to a high stress situation that you're not used to, and it's only natural for you to experience that adrenaline dump, especially initially when you first start training, when you first start sparring. So don't worry, don't feel like you are in bad shape. It's only natural, and you get used to it. And that's why it is mostly important to try to stay calm and relax while you are sparring. But obviously, starting off, easier said than done. So keep that in mind. The second thing that we want to make sure that we're mindful of is we have to go into it not particularly trying to win. And it can be difficult to take yourself out of the competitive, mentality that's involved in a fight, even if it is sparring, even if it is amongst friends and training partners. But it's going to be very important for us to put down that competitive element and pick up the learning element. The more we can take the competition aspect out of it, the more we're going to be able to learn. We have to make it playful. We have to be intentional with what we're working on, and that's going to be the most beneficial. The better you can remove the competition aspect from sparring, the more beneficial that sparring is going to be for you. So we got to remove the competitive nature. We have to go into sparring and forget about winning. There is no winning. You showing up to sparring is a win. Even if you, quote unquote, do terribly, you still are winning and you still are learning. So it's always a good idea to play games with it, or there's different ways to take that competitive aspect out of it. You can do situational sparring. You can use handicaps where you can One person is doing offense and one person is doing defense. There's all kinds of ways to take that competitive aspect out of sparring and play around with all of them. It's going to be beneficial. Like I said, the more you can take that competitive aspect, that desire to win out of sparring, the more beneficial it's going to be for you. The next thing is we want to learn how to have control in the chaos of what a fight can be. There's a lot going on, and when we're sparring, we're going to learn quickly that it doesn't go down like we see in the movies where these cleanly choreographed moves, punch, block, move to the side, the guy's barely breaking a sweat. It doesn't go down like that. And it can be pretty chaotic. But the more control we can have in the moments of chaos, the better and more beneficial the sparring is going to be. If we can't control ourselves, we're not going to be able to control a fight. And sparring is less about making your opponent or your partner conform to your will. It's about making yourself do the things that you can do or that you want to do. So it's highly beneficial to get in the habit of trying to control yourself in the whole chaotic atmosphere of sparring. The next one is we got to take the ego out. We got to take that ego out. And it goes back to when I was talking about not trying to always win. It goes back to that. We got to take that ego out. When we go into sparring and we are not able to check our ego at the door, what happens, there's a few things that happen. Your training partners are not going to want to work with you. You're going to default to whatever it is you're good at or comfortable with. So you're not going to be trying to do anything new. You're not going to be trying to add different things to your game. And your ego will be quickly crushed. So you might as well not bring it out there, especially starting off, especially if you haven't sparred before. There is no ego. And just in martial arts all around, you know, the ego is not something that is going to be beneficial to you at all. So we gotta check that ego. If we got a little bit of ego, check it at the door. And martial arts is a humbling experience, so allow it to humble us. Don't try to fight the humbling experience, because it is something that's going to be necessary in order for us to learn and in order for us to grow. Now, what I like to do when we're talking about egos, I like to do a couple things. I like to give my training partner advantages. That's a good way to take the ego out of it. Where you say, okay, I'm going to be just doing defense, you're going to do offense. Or you can use all of your weapons, I'm just going to use the jab. That way, if we're concerned, we don't want to admit it sometimes, but if we're deep down concerned about oh, this person is going to go around and telling everybody that they beat me up, we can always fall back on, well, I was just using my jab. I remember in jiu-jitsu, when I first got my brown belt, I really felt like I didn't deserve it. And I felt like I had to step up. So what I purposely did, and I probably did this for a year straight, is I started off every sparring round in a bad position with whoever I was rolling with. That year was probably the most I had progressed in martial arts in a span of a year, just by doing that. And that eliminated the ego from the equation completely. The next thing that I always recommend, and this is also something that I've done personally myself, was going into striking sparring sessions looking to get hit. Yes, you heard that correctly. Looking to get hit, wanting to get hit. So prior, I had almost kind of like a point fighter style where I would dart in really quick, land a punch, dart right back out. Very hard to hit. I did, and the reason for that style was I was really avoiding trying to get hit. Really avoiding getting hit. That's really what I was trying to do. But I realized that takes a lot of cardio. And a lot of times it was cardio that I didn't have. So I had to figure out a way to accept the getting hit part. So I made a game out of it. I said, I'm going to go into sparring wanting to get hit, looking to get hit. And not just for the sake of getting hit. I wanted to see what sort of opportunities presented themselves when I stayed in range. I discovered that I got pretty nice long arms, and usually I'm able to control the range. But I always tell my students, when I see that they're having a hard time getting over the hit, getting over getting hit, when I see them overreacting to punches and kicks landing, when I can see that they're visibly uncomfortable with getting hit, I tell them, spend a short amount of time going into these sparring sessions looking to get hit. And it makes all the difference in the world. But you gotta play that game. You gotta come up with little games for yourself to where you're taking it away from win, lose, win, lose. If you are looking to be a winner, then sign up and do a tournament. Sign up and, go amateur, go pro. But if you're looking to learn, you got to take that aspect out of it. And then also, the folks that are higher level, that take it seriously, they know really well. And this is what will happen. You'll be sparring with someone who understands the right mentality that they need in order to learn. And you might catch them working on something and putting themselves in bad situations. And then in your mind, you're like, yeah, I got the best of him that day. No, they let you get the best of them. They were working their weaknesses while you were staying in your comfort zone. So take that competitive aspect out of sparring. And then also make sure you're celebrating your small wins. In order to identify the wins to celebrate, you have to create these games for yourself. You go into a sparring session saying, I'm going to try to land one combination that I'm working on. Or I want to go into a sparring. Sometimes you have to set the bar of success low, especially starting out. You have to tell yourself, well, today I'm going to try to make it through however many rounds we're going without getting tired. I'm going to focus on not getting hit so much. I'm going to focus on staying calm. You have to set these goalposts for yourself, make them achievable, and that way you can inspire more growth, inspire more learning, and gauge and track your learning. At the beginning, it's going to feel like I said, a lot of chaos. Everybody that you go with is going to be a little bit more advanced than you. There's going to be a lot going on that your brain hasn't gotten used to processing yet. So you have to set those wins at places that you can track. So set those wins, celebrate those small wins, and the wins I'm talking about are not the wins against your training partner, they're the wins against your improvement and against your learning. But the bottom line when it comes to sparring is that rule number one, safety first. The point of sparring, if you're going into sparring, if you're getting hurt, if you're not progressing, something is wrong. So the first thing that we need to make sure is happening in sparring is that everybody stays safe. Otherwise, you can walk downtown in any major city and step on somebody's sneakers and get your practice in that way. But on the mats, you're with people who you care about, who care about your progress, who want you to learn, who are there to support you. And we got to keep those people safe. Because if we run out of people to spar with, we don't have any way to learn and test our abilities. And just like you are, they are putting their life and their limb on the line to help you progress. So we have to respect that. So safety first, have fun. Don't take it personal. Don't try to win. Relax. And have a good time. All right, folks, gotta run. Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat Martial Arts and Fitness. This was Matt Chat.